Cars burning, guns firing, people looting, images that have become all too familiar in the United States as of late. Anarchy in action on the streets has got politicians pointing fingers at each other. Republicans are even staking their re-election efforts on a tough law and order stance, saying that Democratic governors have let the situation get out of hand.
Chaos results when failed officials in cities like Portland, Minneapolis, Chicago, and New York make the conscious decision not to support law enforcement. The violence and bloodshed we are seeing in these and other cities isn't happening by chance. It's the direct result of refusing to allow law enforcement to protect our communities.
Leftists try to turn them into villains. They want to cancel them. But I'm here to tell you, these heroes can't be canceled.
From Seattle and Portland to Washington and New York, Democrat-run cities across this country are being overrun by violent mobs.
Those statements from the South Dakota governor did not make it past leftist media, which called for a reality check.
We will interject when we feel like there's something that's important and deliberate and very wrong that should be corrected, just so that we feel responsible about our broadcast.
Other news outlets got much the same for suggesting local authorities are responsible for the violence.
How shocked are we that 17-year-olds with rifles decided they had to maintain order when no one else would?
This goes beyond racism. Tucker Carlson is advocating and defending murder.
How shocked are we that Tucker Carlson is praising a murderer as some kind of vigilante hero?
Democrats are taking those blame claims and throwing them right back into the face of conservatives, saying that they're the ones that fermented the hate to begin with.
The question for us, Wisconsin, is when are we going to make Republicans do their jobs, or do we continue to sit idly by and watch this state burn to the ground?
Our nation is hurting. We need leadership that will heal our wounds, not continue to pour salt on them. Peaceful protest against police violence should not be met with more violence. And yet, that's exactly what the president called for after the death of George Floyd.
And here at home, as George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a never-ending list of innocent people of color continue to be murdered, stating the simple fact that a Black Life Matters is still met with derision from the nation's highest office.
As media and politicians blame each other, some U.S. citizens are taking up arms on their own. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, a teenager said to worship the police went to a protest and opened fire on the crowd. 2 people were killed. The local police then chimed in on their own, saying that the victims were to blame because they were on the streets in violation of curfew laws.
This is not a police action. This is not the action, I believe, of those who set out to do protests. It is the persons who were involved after the legal time, involved in illegal activity that brought violence to this community.
This teenager is not the only one. Right-wing militia groups and black self-defense organizations have sprung up across the country. While politicians point the finger, the situation on the streets is only getting worse. Across the country, people are bracing for turbulent times ahead.
I think there's a political game going on this side, on both sides. You've got the Democratic side trying to blame the president for stirring racial unrest, and I don't necessarily agree with that. And you've got the Republican side saying that, especially they're pinpointing the finger at Democratic leaders in Democratic cities and stuff, is that the leadership there is not taking the appropriate action. There's no law and order. And so there needs to be a middle someplace. We do need law and order. We need to provide security and safety for our families, security for our businesses, especially small businesses. I feel so bad for small businesses. They were so hit by the coronavirus, and those are the ones that are being impacted a lot on this violence in the city. Unfortunately, it's a real situation, but both parties are using it as a political weapon.